Marijuana has a reputation for being totally safe with no harmful side effects and zero overdose deaths. I'm a medical marijuana user, and one night when I was seriously high, after taking 3 times my normal daily dose of THC oil to deal with an agonizing fibromyalgia flare, I started to question whether it's actually true that you can't overdose on marijuana. Back in 2017, an 11-month-old boy in Colorado who died from cardiac arrest with THC in his system made headlines as the first marijuana-associated death. A lot of this was media hype, and the original case report clearly states he didn't die just because he was around marijuana. According to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, a United States government research institute, there have never been any adult deaths attributed to marijuana. Keith Humphreys, a former senior policy advisor at the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy, doesn't believe there is a real risk of fatal overdose from marijuana. He stated, "We know from really good survey data that Americans use cannabis products collectively billions of times a year. Not millions of times, but billions of times a year. So that means that if the risk of death was 1 in a million, we would have a couple thousand cannabis overdose deaths a year." There have been a few animal and human deaths attributed to marijuana, but there's no consensus on what constitutes an overdose, how much it requires to be fatal, or whether certain medical conditions would make you more at risk of a fatal overdose. University of Toronto pharmacology and toxicology professor Bernard Lafall, MD and PhD, says it would take 2,000 joints smoked simultaneously to fatally overdose on marijuana. Other estimates have put a toxic marijuana dose at smoking 680 kilograms in 15 minutes. But with other methods of consumption available, overdoses can happen more easily. Edibles are more prone to results in an overdose because they take longer to metabolize. This can make you think you didn't take enough, so you have more, and then end up overdosing when they all kick in. Edibles are also more appealing to children than a joint would be, and emergency department cases of children accidentally ingesting marijuana have increased everywhere edibles are legal for recreational use. Prior to legalization, hospitals only saw a few cannabis-intoxicated children every decade, but now they are seeing this every few weeks. If you use edibles, keep them out of reach of children. They should be stored out of sight and in a child-proof container, according to Dr. Dominic Chalut, an emergency physician at McGill University Health Center Hospital. And then there's the concentrated products, THC oil, waxes. Dabbing or smoking a highly concentrated wax results in a nearly instant intense high. THC oils and THC vape pods are not regulated in the same way that legalized recreational marijuana is, and the THC vape pods especially can contain dangerously high concentrations of THC. Back in June of 2019, the year that I'm filming this, a 39-year-old woman was found dead in her apartment. Coroner Christy Montague, not sure how to say it, determined the cause of death was an overdose that THC oil she had been vaping killed her, according to the coroner. Her toxicology report showed 8.4 nanograms of THC per milliliter of blood. As little as 2 nanograms per milliliter can cause cognitive impairment. The coroner explained it looked like it was all THC because her autopsy showed no physical disease or afflictions that were the cause of death. There was nothing else identified in the toxicology. No other drugs, no alcohol. There was nothing else. I'm thinking this lady must have vaped this THC oil and got a high level in her system and made her stop breathing, like a respiratory failure. The coroner believes her THC blood level at the time of death was almost certainly higher than her blood level showed during the autopsy, as THC breaks down quickly. So how does Humphreys from that government office on drug control explain this death? Well, he thinks the coroners probably see a drug in the system and attribute the death to it, because they couldn't find any other cause. There is always some imperfection in these kind of assessments, he says. It's just so incredibly unlikely. Even so, just because marijuana is natural doesn't mean it's 100% safe. It probably won't kill you, but that doesn't mean you can use unlimited amounts without physical consequences. Marijuana contains many different components, and each strain has a different chemical makeup, which makes it difficult to say exactly what an overdose will look like or how much you will need to ingest or smoke or consume in order to overdose. Too much THC can cause a psychoactive reaction, which is what I experienced. I was seeing sounds. THC overdoses can also result in vomiting and heartbeat irregularities. Too much CBD, on the other hand, can result in sedation. Other symptoms of cannabis overconsumption include headache, pale skin, paranoid thoughts, hallucinations, confusion, and panic attacks. Maybe overdose isn't the right term, but consuming more cannabis than your body can handle can be dangerous. Usually you just have to wait out the high, but abnormalities in heart rate should be treated as a medical emergency. Please consume responsibly and seek medical care when you need it. My sources for this video were Newsweek, the New Orleans Advocate, Montreal Gazette, farmtalks.utoronto.ca, therecoveryvillage.com, verywellmind.com, and consequenceofsound.com. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!